you?
Cheers, Stephen. You forever. What are you drinking?
This Canadian whiskey my cousin got me. It has maple syrup in it. Ooh. This shit is good.
Tasty.
Yeah, this is good. I didn't know it was like that. I might have to. Yeah, I might have to make a request. How are you? How are you doing? It's been like forever.
I know. It's been like, what, 1,000 years? Right.
Yeah.
But it's so nice to be with you tonight.
Likewise. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. What the hell is going on? What's going on over there?
I'm trying to blow this shit up.
Let's see if that makes it to the video portion of the show.
I'm ready.
So we'll start, and we could keep this brief because there's really nothing more to say. I like to start with where I know my guest from. Obviously, we used to work together. We don't even got to mention that establishment. But yeah, we worked together. That's how we know of each other. Obviously, at the time, I was podcasting. I believe you were also podcasting at that time as well. So we naturally had a connection from that place. And speaking of which is great while we start here, you are one of the reasons that I'm podcasting now. Like, I've came back. I know we had a previous conversation about this when I was helping you out with some website stuff. But I remember a conversation that we had at Squarespace where you told me your opinion about the show at the time.
What did I say?
You essentially said, and I'll edit this out, you essentially said you preferred the show when I was doing interviews versus the people that I was doing the show with at the time.
We were sitting by my desk, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't lie. But I think it's me speaking to your ability. Like, I just think that a lot of times we don't see our potential until somebody bring it to our attention. And I think that, I think you're a natural at it. And you're an Aquarius. Like, we have the gift of gab, so we can talk to anybody about anything. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, you ain't tell a lie. You ain't tell nothing. You ain't tell no lies over here. But yeah, so that was something that definitely stuck with me through that process. Because even like during the pandemic and I was away, I was like, maybe I should come back. But I enjoy my peace and quiet, and not having to deal with all of the beautiful chaos that is podcasting. But that was always something that stuck with me. So it's kind of crazy that what's this, like maybe 5 years later, that we're now here. So, kudos to you.
Yeah,
kudos to us. Yes, that's better. So outside of that, walking down memory lane, we'll start off with, your humble beginnings.
They was humble, child.
I mean, mine too. Don't let the chains and the good skin fool you. It was a process.
Fool you, right?
Yeah, it was a process. But you told me that you're born in New York, family in New York, and then eventually you guys picked up and moved to Memphis. So one, like, how old were you when that happened, and like, what was like your reaction? I know it's tough for children to like get used to an environment and then having to go somewhere else, and it's like, oh, my friends, my school, like the things you do in the neighborhood around you. And then describe a little bit about like life in Memphis. I know it's very in pop culture now with music and the number of artists that have come out there, and it's like, in some sort of cultural renaissance, or just being put on like a bigger scale than previous years. But like, describe a little bit about like that move and then living in Memphis.
But what's so funny? I honestly don't remember us moving to Memphis. I remember I don't remember being born in New York, but I know I was born in New York. I was actually born in LaGuardia in Queens, LaGuardia Hospital. And that is something I also discovered some years ago, because this whole time I'm thinking I was born in Brooklyn, but come to find out it was Queens, but I still rep Brooklyn all day. And so I don't remember the move, but I just remember just always being in Memphis as a little girl. And, I think a lot of that stems from just my upbringing and my relationships with my parents, because I really don't have a relationship with my parents. I just met my father for the first time via phone, probably like, I don't know, maybe when I was like 15 years ago. And my mother and we don't have the best relationship at all. So a lot of things that I'm discovering now about my childhood is just me just like going down a rabbit hole. And because of my connection or just being reconnected with my father, I've been connecting with his side of the family and just like, just trying to ask questions because I do think it's important for us to know where we come from.
Right.
But the things that I do remember about my childhood, I love Memphis. I think and I'm pretty sure everyone feels this way about where they come from, but I just think there's something special about Memphis. Like the people of Memphis just got heart, they got passion. I remember growing up, like being obsessed with 3 6 Mafia, like always rapping. Who else? I mean, oh, God Bless the Dead, Gangsta Boo. Like, I just remember it feeling like in Memphis, like I was always with family. Like I always felt safe when I was in Memphis. Like I don't ever remember feeling like, and I'm pretty sure there were some times I was like, oh my God, like just being like a little girl and shit. But like,
Right.
oh, can I curse?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Being a little girl, some people don't like that cursing. But yeah, like I love Memphis. Like I just everything like it's just so funny because I feel like now when people see me, they think like just New York. But I recently went back to Memphis for an event and I haven't been home in so long because I live in New York now. And just to go back and just to have that nostalgic feeling, just like I literally felt like I was a little girl. And then I was like, I don't know if it's a gift or a curse because Memphis hasn't really changed as much. So just to be able to like see the things that I used to see growing up was I don't know, it was just a really good weird feeling in a sense.
I can imagine, like, I feel like there's these interesting like pillars in America of like just Black culture, and like if you haven't grown up in it, you wouldn't necessarily understand it. And it's
like
like
HBCUs.
Right, correct. And it's just like this cultural sort of like not even melting pot. It's like a cultural abundance. It's like music, style, the way we talk, the things that we do, the food in the area. So it's like if you're fortunate enough to grow up in like a Memphis or parts of LA, New York City, Chicago, like there's just this richness that comes for those sort of communities that you can't necessarily get anywhere else.
Listen, being in New York and being like growing up in the South, like I always say, it's not real barbecue if you can't smell it. We have a place in Memphis called Neely's. You can smell that shit a mile away. Like the whole city smells like barbecue. So the shit that we eating in New York is not barbecue. And then, you know what I'm saying? Because you're supposed to be able to smell your food. And even like with certain like just the fashion and the looks, like one thing that the girls used to do, we used to wear our hair like pretty much how my hair is now, but it would be bone straight and the top of my hair would have curls, and we used to call it the Memphis wrap. So if anybody was like, yo, you had a Memphis wrap, everybody know what that is. So it's just so fun to be able to like be from a city and we have our own little lingo, our own fashion, things of that nature.
So you kind of touched upon it. So eventually you did move back to New York City. So how much of that was a culture shock for you? I mean, it's completely two different worlds.
You know what? I feel like I had the best of both worlds because, all my family is from New York. So we moved down to the South because my father at the time, which is a whole nother story, child. But when I moved back to New York, I used to always come to New York every summer. So I always had like, the accent, but everybody always told me I had like the New York swag, whatever. And, just being from, I don't think we was middle class. I think we was like right below middle class, but not like poor, but just trying to figure things out. So being able to be from that part in Memphis and then also just come to New York and be in Brooklyn and East New York. And it's so funny because I didn't think East New York was the hood. And maybe
little did you know.
Child, listen. But maybe it's because like where my grandma lived at, like it was just community. Like the niggas at the corner store, they knew us. Like the men looked out for us. Like it was just like a sense of community and a sense of belonging. So I didn't really have a culture shock. Like I felt like I fit right on in when I came to New York.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But then also, because that kind of makes sense, because I think at the same time, we do, like, yes, children are children, so there is teasing, and, teenagers are teenagers, like, there's a level of teasing. But at the same time, I think we do welcome people from different walks of life.
Absolutely. New York is the home of the melting pot, home of everybody from everywhere.
Correct. Right. So that kind of makes sense. But with that being said, how do you feel as though growing up with that level of diversity in terms of like Memphis culture and then New York City culture kind of molds you to who you are today?
Oh, I feel like, you can put me what's the Jay-Z line? You can put me anywhere on God's green
With
earth.
me Earth, I'm a triple my
Yeah,
worth.
OD. Like I feel like I'd be good wherever I go because I think that there's beauty in growing up in a city like New York. Like New York teaches you to be quick. New York teaches you to be, keep your head on a swivel, like, and just to be able to have common sense. And I think that, I think the South teaches your manners, but New York teaches you how to survive. And I don't think that I'd be who I am now if I didn't have New York. Like New York is my everything. And sometimes I wish like, damn, because I used to want to grow up and I used to want to go to school in New York and go to high school and stuff, but like I wouldn't change anything. Like I do think that people need to experience both the South or the country and the city life because there is a big difference. But in New York, you don't know what you're gonna get.
Man, listen, every
You
day
know what
is
I'm
a
saying?
toss up.
Every single day, you can be walking down the street, you see some crazy shit.
Absolutely nuts, and that's why I live in Jersey.
No, me too.
Twins. So do you ever feel like you have to like balance yourself out in any capacity? Like maybe you'll have personal experiences and it's like, damn, I wish I would do this like Memphis would do it. Or when you're in Memphis, it's like, damn, I wish I would do it in like New York would do it. Because I think it's interesting to have those sorts of like two different dynamics, and sometimes you could get used to like behavioral patterns or certain experiences, and then when you're faced with them in different environments, it's like, I wish things were different.
Yeah, that's a good question, Steven. I feel like because just being in New York, like you got to be direct. You know what I'm saying? So,
Mm-hmm.
and I think also being a brownie, being a woman, like I have to move a certain way. So, and unfortunately, when I move that way, sometimes my passion gets mistaken for aggressiveness. So,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have to, and it's something I've been thinking about because me and my cousin, we also been talking about like sometimes he feels like I'm being defensive and maybe that stems from like like childhood things and like trauma and stuff like that. But I definitely feel like when I went back home to Memphis for that event and somebody was like, oh my god, you're so lovable, and I am a lovable person, but I don't know, they did something to me because I'm like, damn, like nobody in New York ever told me I'm lovable, and I know niggas fuck with me.
The math isn't mathing.
It's like I don't know. I just think that being a person, like we are so like we're just not one dimensional. So different situation calls for different sides of us. And
Right.
I would love to be soft and pink all day, but unfortunately I can't be that all the time because I got to get shit done. And granted, I'm very nice, I'm very respectful, but sometimes I want to just be soft and pink. So I feel like when I'm in Memphis, like I'm nay, like I'm chill, like I don't really like my friends in the South, they don't know what a podcast is. Like they know now, but like they don't know all the nuances of like you can really make it or like being a creative. Like in the South, you're taught to get a 9 to 5, have some children, get married, and call it a day. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like I don't know. Yeah, I think the South really does bring out a softer, like more relaxed side of me.
That makes sense. I can see that. I can see that though, because I feel like, not to say that I think New York gets a bad rap in terms of like, oh, we're mean and we don't respect people, whatever the case
Right.
is. I think because grind culture is such a big thing here, it's like
You gotta hustle.
people focus is on, getting a better apartment, getting a better job, the other things like the real life responsibilities. So we may not be as, open with our emotions as,
Yeah,
other places in the world are, or other places the country can be, because it's a completely different lifestyle in the
yeah,
South.
yeah.
So people prioritize things differently.
But it's also a curse because people feel as if you don't have feelings or you don't have emotions. So people are more prone to, move in a certain way with you, not even knowing, like, damn, that kind of hurt my feelings.
Right, right.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's a lot of nuances when it comes to like how you present yourself. And granted, I'm always me in all situations, but like I said, there's just different sides of you. But it's very interesting though when you think about it.
I love the psychology of people and like trying to unravel who they are, or just
Yeah,
unraveling like what makes you think or do the things that you do or believe.
yeah,
So it's just very interesting because it's like you can trace everything back to people's childhood, certain experiences,
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like, yeah. If I could go back in school and take up something as a major, it definitely would have been psychology. But
Just
ain't
go
nobody
back.
got time.
You got time, King.
I ain't got school money. I got these bills. This rent is expensive.
Listen.
Um, So I know you came back to New York to take care of your grandmother who had Alzheimer's. And before you reply to that, I also have a grandmother who is dealing with dementia. And I think
God bless.
yes, thank you. I think people don't speak enough. And I mean, it's personal, so people don't have to speak about it in general. But I think it's something that is a lot to deal with, of like taking, even if you're not necessarily taking care of this person, but to actually watch them suffer in a way that's outside of their control. So it's like, I remember early last year, there was a point in time where my grandmother did not recognize me at all. Like, I would come to the house, she would look at me, she would not acknowledge me, not say anything. And this would be a woman who, as soon as I came into the house, like, she would just talk to me nonstop, asking me various questions. Thankfully, over time, her health improved a little bit, so now she does recognize me. But at the same time, I could watch how much I speak to my mother, and I could see how much that takes a toll on her. Watching her mom have to deal with that, and like, you know, sometimes she's it's heartbreaking, and then they're also like tough to deal with because they'll just stay in their room all day. They won't go and use the bathroom when they need to. So I think, that's just some context for like, I kind of understand what you were going through with that.
Yeah, listen, it's so funny. Language is so important because I didn't even know I was a caregiver until the word became popular. You know what I'm saying? Like, taking care of someone who has Alzheimer's, I mean, especially a loved one. Like, I remember just looking at my grandmother and like I used to think she was the most beautiful woman in the world. Like, she was witty. My grandma was super smart. Like, she had the downstairs basement was nothing but encyclopedias and books and stuff. You know, she taught me the importance of like loving my people. Like, my grandma was my world. So to see her like deteriorate, like literally right before my eyes, like, and my grandma was a boss. Like, she didn't need nothing. She was wealthy. Like, she was just, you know what I'm saying? Like, she was everything that I want to be to this day. And to be able to see somebody lose their mind, like, that shit is crazy. Like, to a point where like they don't even recognize you, or they don't even know how to use the bathroom.
Right.
Like, they pretty much lose their motor skills. And it's amazing how they don't have a cure for this. It's like, where is it coming from?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's heartbreaking. And I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about patience. I learned so much about unconditional love. Like, that was one of my biggest teachers, my biggest lessons. Like, that literally broke me in half, like dead ass. So
I can imagine.
Yeah, like, my heart goes out to anyone who's dealing with that, including your mom. Like, and we talking about it from a grandchild's point of view, but I can't even imagine what it's like as a parent or a daughter seeing her mom like go through that. Like, that it's heartbreaking. It's hard, and I think more people should talk about it, because when my grandmother, when she got angry, she called me a bitch, and my feelings was like, oh, I was floored. I was like, what? And then you gotta remind yourself that that's not her. And like, next thing you know, I'm in the corner crying, and she's like, Nene, what's wrong? And I'm like, girl, you just called me a bitch.
It's your fault.
It's insane. Like, it's insane. It's truly heartbreaking. It really is.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that you mentioned there is like patience, and like, really, it's an example of like, okay, unconditional love, because a lot of people, they can't take it. They would just, put their parent in a nursing home and let, time decide when they're going to transition to the next phase of existence. But, it's really tough seeing that at least from my perspective, like seeing not only my grandmother, but then also my mom dealing with that.
And she lives with your mom?
Yes, she does.
Oh, yeah. God bless her, man. That's, whew.
Yeah, it's tough. Definitely
it's tough, man.
So, some more tough questions.
Yeah.
You spoke about, we had a conversation offline, but what was obviously we know you from the Professional Homegirl Podcast.
Yeah.
What was the personal adversity that pushed you into podcasting?
Losing my grandmother. I lost my grandmother at the age of 29. And at that time, I never experienced losing anyone close to me. Like I know people from the hood that passed away, or just like, somebody, grandma or cousin or something, but I never experienced that for myself. So losing my grandmother the way that I did and the way that I found out, it literally broke me in half to the point where I was super depressed. I damn near didn't want to be here anymore because I was like, damn, God, like, how can you take the only person that you know really loved me unconditionally? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because my grandmother was my mother. And so eventually, grief doesn't care who you are, what you look like. Like, grief was kicking my ass. My skin was like breaking out. My hair was falling out. Like, I did not look like myself. I lost weight and I'm already small. And so eventually I just went to therapy. And at that time, before therapy became so popular, back in the day, people used to think that you was crazy if you talk about therapy and stuff, especially being from where we from. So I just went to therapy, and the first time I had a white lady, and she just did not understand anything that I was saying. Like, I felt like I was just like, yeah, it was a crazy experience. And like, that was my first time like really opening up about a lot of things I went through as a child. And like a lot of things that was starting to come surface into my adulthood, especially when I lost my grandmother. And like, she was looking at me like I had 3 heads. And so, but I didn't want to stop trying because I'm like, I always say like therapy is like going bra shopping. Like, you got to just find the right bra.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, it is. Like, I don't know what's that equivalent to with men, but that's how I look at it for women. Yeah. Like,
I got nothing. You should know your size. There's only like a few sizes. Yeah.
Right?
Like, yeah.
But
I was gonna say condoms, but this is not that kind of show.
You can't be trying on with no baggy condoms now.
Listen, yeah. Listen.
The from therapy to condoms.
No more whiskey for me.
But I was at this event, and I saw this Black woman, and she was a therapist, and she was just like, I don't know, it's like God was like saying, oh, like over her head. And so I connected with her, and Dina has been the big sister I have always wanted. Like, she has helped me so much. And I think what really helped is because, obviously representation matters, but to be able to see this Black woman and be educated and also understand where I come from, but also can break down the resources and tools that I needed that was digestible for me, was like a light switch went off. So when I was starting my journey with her and I started seeing, me lead from depression back to how I used to be, and finally accepting my grandmother was no longer here, I was just like, yo, like, how cool would it be to be able to have a platform where, Black women can come on and like talk their shit. Like, and I feel like a lot of times, especially being from the South, like, we're not taught to stand up for ourselves, to be vocal, or, shame and guilt is a real thing. And I feel like a lot of times when people are in certain situations, because sometimes that was just the only solution to their answer. And even though it might not be the best one, it was just the only one. And I just want to give people a platform to be able to share their stories. And, for other people for me to humanize them, but for other people to give them empathy. And I think that's what's important, because I feel like we are a very judgmental society until the shit happens to us. And, I think that by making each of my guests anonymous, it helps people to, look at them and be like, damn, like, who is Shorty? Like, Shorty bad as hell. She got through this. Like, it makes you want to be like them and know more about them. So that was one of my main reasons why I wanted to start the podcast and, give the brownie something to talk about.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. Because I was trying to see, like, okay, how, because once you mentioned, like, it was your unfortunate grandmother's passing that pushed you into podcasting, it was like, how is she going to walk me through this? But it kind of makes sense of like,
oh, you didn't know this?
No, I didn't know this at all. So it's kind of interesting seeing how an unfortunate event could push you to finally seeing a therapist, or the right therapist eventually.
Yeah.
And like being able to express yourself in a safe space for possibly the first time in your life would then also inspire you to provide that platform for other people, which I'm always an advocate for therapy. Everybody should get it. If you could financially afford it, by all means, get a therapist. My therapist is absolutely wonderful. So shout out to Dina.
Yeah, shout out to Dina. It's all about just being safe in a space where you can be able to share your story. And I feel like a lot of times people don't share their stories is because people don't feel comfortable. And I
Correct.
always tell people that you never know how your storyline can be someone else's lifeline. When I open up about a lot of things that I was going through, I don't look like my problems. I don't like I have a problem a day in my life, and neither do you. But when you start sharing when you start sharing your stories with other people be like, wow, like really? And then you never know. You give them a voice and then they want to share their stories. And I think a lot of times we go through so much shit because niggas is not sharing their stories.
Right. We're keeping too much information for ourselves, and it's like we need to share this information willingly to hopefully, well, another Jay-Z quote, Hov did that, so hopefully
You
you
don't have
won't
to
have
go
to
through
go
that.
through that. So it's
Son,
like,
dead ass. That's one of when I started the podcast, I'm like, yo, I want that quote. Ho went through that, so you ain't gotta go through that.
exactly. So it's like sharing your experiences would hopefully help someone also not go through that same thing. So that's
Yeah.
what's up. That's what's up. So how long have you been doing the podcast now?
It is going on 6 years.
Look at that. Round of applause. Round of applause.
I
Check you
know,
out.
right?
Most people don't make it to 6. That's quite an
That,
accomplishment. Quite an
that's
accomplishment.
That says 6 years and just started getting paid, child. So
Listen. That's a whole conversation within itself. Whole conversation within itself.
yeah,
So with the podcast, like what are the techniques that you use to like market your show? And then I also believe you mentioned like how Drake's Certified Lover Boy also inspired you in some facet. And
yeah,
then or how did you use your community to help you land at Charlemagne the Gods, the Black Effect?
yeah. Shout out to Shala and Black Effect. But I just thought it was so cool how like when Drake came out with that album with the pregnant baby mama emojis and like everybody was using it. Or God Bless the Dead Nipsey Hussle when he came out with the marathon flag and everybody was using it. And I don't know what it was about that, but I'm like, yo, my logo needs to be an emoji. Like, granted, my logo is a flamingo and it represents beauty, balance, and grace. But it needs to be something that like it just got to be something where people can be able to use on their phones. And when I saw that, I'm like, yeah, like it's starting to make sense. Like I feel like all the pieces were starting to connect. So I feel like with marketing, because when I used to work at Gucci taught me a lot about branding. And I feel like at each job that I work at, I always try to take something from it. And for the most part, I always wanted to work at a job that started off as an entrepreneur, a one man, one band type of game. Because I feel like that's my end goal. So I want to see it at different levels, whether it's a startup, whether it's corporate, whether it was sold. Like I want to be able to fully understand business firsthand. And so when I was at Gucci, I'm like, damn, Gucci got so many logos. Like they got the G's, they got the red and green, they got the B's. Like there's just so many different ways that you can identify their brand. And that's why I wanted to have that flamingo because I'm like, it's one thing to have a word, but if you see a pink bird, that shit gonna hit a little bit different than you seeing a whole bunch of words.
Right.
So when it came to my partnership with Black Effect, you know, when Charlamagne made the announcement 3 years ago, I just knew in my spirit that I was going to be on this network. It was nothing you couldn't tell me. I talked about this shit, Stephen, every single. No,
I remember. I
yeah,
remember.
I think I even shared it with you. Like I would talk about it, like, and I think at one point people were looking at me like I was crazy, but like I honestly didn't think that God was gonna put something on my heart and not see it through. Like, so I'm like, if nobody else wanted to believe me, like, what it is, because
Right.
God showed me exactly what was to come. I just had to just stay true, and it was hard, like, because it's like, damn, am I the only one that's seeing this vision? Like, like nobody else is seeing it. And I used to DM Charlamagne like every single week. He would not respond back to me. I think the one time he finally said something to me, and I literally just saw it not too long ago, is when I did a story on this woman. Her son was shot, I believe, 76 times. His name is Jamarian Robinson. He was wrong face, and he was shot by the police in Atlanta. One of the most horrendous cases in the world. And so I think he gave it like a thumbs up. So I'm like, oh, at least he saw that because that's important to me. And so I was DMing him, but after like a year, I'm like, well, damn, like something got to give because this might not be the way in, God. So then I found the president, Dolly, and I was DMing her, but I was like, I don't want to be annoying like this. Like, I got to find another way in to get these people attention. And so one day I saw on Instagram, they posted on their page, oh, should we add a new show to the lineup? If so, who y'all got? And Steven, when I tell you, I heard God say, this is it, child. You better go for it. Yo, I was sharing that post with every single person I knew. I was like, y'all, tag me, but you gotta put that flamingo. I was like, please put the flamingo. I think I was even copying and pasting the flamingo for those who got the robot Android phones and shit. Yo, I was going crazy because I knew in my heart, Steven, that was gonna be the day. Next thing you know, when you look at the post, it's nothing but pink birds just going all the way down. So I think Charlamagne and Dolly, who's the president, she was in the they was in the DM, they was in the what you call it? The comment
section.
Yeah, and they was like, Dolly was like talking to people. So I'm like, oh shit, let me get her attention. So I was like, oh my God, Dolly and Charlamagne, can y'all please check out a DM? I've been trying to get that y'all for a minute, yeah. So she was like, no, we family. Say what you gotta say here. I was like, all right, bet. So I went back, I went to the DM I sent her, I chopped it up, put it back in the comment section, responded back to her. And then people started responding and liking what I was saying. And then more people started putting the birds. And then Dolly slid in my DM. And then the rest was history. So I say all that to say, like, yo, as long as you got a community, and that's another thing. Like, I look at like the Barbs, I look at, the Beehive. Like, community is so important. Like, I would not have gotten this deal if it wasn't for my professional homegirls. Like, dead ass. Like, it just honestly, like, it just grew organically. Like, I don't have a lot of followers on Instagram. I don't have a lot of followers on like a YouTube page and stuff. But like, my community, please, nobody is my community, man. Like, I appreciate my professional homegirls so much.
I think the quote is like, I'd rather have 100 loyal. I'd rather have like 100 loyal listeners than like 1,000 supporters who are going to be flaky. So yeah, I think that your example is like a clear representation of that quote. And as you're telling me the story, even though he's a jackass at this time, but it reminds me of like Kanye and in the doc of like before he was on, he's telling everybody like all these established acts, like, yo, my first album's gonna be College Dropout. These are the singles to the album. This is gonna be this, and then they're looking at him like, yo, you just make beats. Like, what the hell are you talking about?
Son, when I was watching his documentary, like, I got so emotional because I'm like, yo, I know what that feels like. Like, even to this day, like, I'm always pushing myself and I'm like, damn, like I know my shit is going to be one of the biggest shows or one of the biggest platforms for women of color. And I'm just like, it brings so much emotion out of you. So I'm like, yo, I get it. Like, I see why Kanye be spazzing the fuck out.
Y'all not hearing him. Y'all not hearing me.
Y'all don't see the vision.
Yeah. But now I definitely don't want to see the vision. So there's that. I don't want to see anything at all. And you kind of touched up upon this earlier, but do you believe that your diverse form of content is why you foster meaningful engagement with your listeners? Because you have this platform specifically for women of color to share their stories, no matter how, unique they may be, like this is why people tune in.
Yeah. Man, listen, when I was a child, I thought I was the only one going through some crazy shit in my life. And then when I started kicking with people and they telling me they was going through the same thing, but worse, I'm like, oh, wow, like I'm not the only person. And I think because the conversations I have on the show is just like, nobody's talking about this stuff in our community. Like, this is stuff that you pillow talk with or some like you kicking or like.
Yeah, this is the stuff that's only in the group chat.
Yeah, like nobody is talking openly about this. And I can't tell you how many times I receive emails from professional homegirls that's just like, yo, thank you so much. Like, I had professional homegirls pray over me to a point that it brought me to tears because I'm just like, when I was a child growing up, and even into my adulthood, like I really used to struggle with loneliness and abandonment. And I was just like, wow, God, like you gave me cousins, you know what I'm saying? Or sisters, like I don't ever feel alone. Like, And for me, for people to tell me that this the PhD is changing their life, like PhD saved my life plenty of times. Like I even go back and listen to these stories and just be like, wow, like it's not therapy, but it's therapy in a sense, you know? So I definitely think that these conversations, the topics from, you know, when if I'm interviewing someone who's a survivor, to a woman being the only Black woman in her field, to me just having conversations with Kiki, I definitely think that helped with the growth of the show.
That's amazing. I
Thank you.
love, and because we kind of have like similar foundations as to why we're in podcasting. It's
Mhm.
essentially the storytelling aspect. And I think
Right.
that's what I find so engaging is because, like you mentioned earlier, people may have misconceptions about you as an individual without knowing you. And so having conversations with people, you get to peel back the layers to who they are.
Yes.
And you get to see like, okay, this was a scenario, a situation, but this is just a chapter to my book. This isn't my whole
Absolutely.
story. So I think that's such a beautiful thing to being able to engage with not only the guest at that time and having them share their story, but then other people who may not have been comfortable to come out and share their stories, or they may be experiencing something similar at based on that particular episode, and
Yeah.
it kind of puts them at ease because we all have moments where it feels like, damn, am I the only one experiencing
No,
this? And
that.
it's like, no, there's a lot of people out there that also share the similar experience. So I think it's something that helps people put things into perspective. Perspective
Yeah.
means so much. And
Oh, please.
sometimes by hearing somebody else's story, it can help put a different frame of mind for yourself. And it's like, you know what? Maybe things aren't as bad as it may seem. It's like this
Yeah.
person was able to overcome this, then maybe I'm able to overcome whatever it is that I'm dealing with as
Absolutely,
well.
absolutely. And if the storytelling is really good, it's like you can see it in your head. Like I
Right.
feel like a lot of times my guests, I feel like they holding my hand and like I can see what's going on, and I'm just like, wow, like it's crazy, like it is insane. Like some of these interviews or conversations that I had, I'm just like I'm left in amazement because I don't know if I can do what they did.
And that's a perfect segue into my next question.
Yay!
Uh, what were the episode or episodes that had you like in complete shock? That had you was like, I don't even know if I have a response to this because what did you just tell me?
So I would say I have a couple of them. I would say I would never forget episode 19. I'm a
Mhm.
BBW, not sex worker. I'm a BBW. I can't even remember, but not porn star. She was something to sex work, but she was a BBW. Oh, I think it was a BBW porn star, and she was describing this scene with this
Mhm.
man. And the beauty of the show is, you know, when you're talking to a Black woman, like you can just hear a Black woman's voice, like, and I think it's so dope that I think I have close to 300 episodes, and there's 300 different types of Black women speaking. But she was talking about this scene, this sex scene that she was doing with this man, whatever, and the nigga was bleeding from his ass, and I'm just gonna leave that.
Time out. Time out.
Yo,
How did we get there?
I'm
Matter of
telling
fact, I'm gonna have to go listen to episode 19.
you, bro, that part. I think I was crying laughing because she explains what happened next, and she like, "Nigga, is you bleeding?"
I mean, that's a very authentic reaction.
She hood with it, so like that shit was. I would never forget that. I would never forget that one. And then what's another one? Oh man, I feel like I had so many good conversations. I will say that. So I'm working on season 2 that's coming out in April,
Mm-hmm.
and I did an interview, and I never get like I can probably count on one hand how many times I didn't cry or got like something really like trigger me.
Emotional.
Yeah, because I feel like for the most part, like, and maybe because I just had a crazy upbringing, I was exposed to so much shit, but like a lot of things don't really get to me. And also I pray and like, you know, I know that sometimes people need this more than I need it. So a lot of things don't trigger me. But I recently did the season premiere, which is coming out in April, and crazy. It was about the title is My Father's Mistress Killed My Mother. Crazy, right? I know it was the title alone is crazy. And so as she's telling this story, you know, I'm seeing it in my head and like throughout the episode, like you can hear me like I'm just quiet because I don't know what to say. And so, but the part that got to me was because I'm very sensitive to when children are being exposed or being harmed or whatever the case may be. And she talks about when her mom got killed by her father's mistress, they end up going to live with the aunt, which is her mom's sister, but the aunt don't fuck with them. And the aunt started to sell her to grown men. Yeah, and that one, I wasn't gonna put that episode out, but after I just spoke to like my loved ones and spoke to the network and things of that nature, I'm like, this is my why. Like, as difficult as it sounds, and as difficult it was for me to get through it, this is why I'm doing this, to give people like her a platform to share her story. So that one was difficult. But I feel like I didn't have so many like crazy episodes. Like, even like I did the episode My Mother and I Are Sisters. That was crazy. Yes. No. But
I
this
just
is stuff that goes on within our communities.
I don't want to judge, but it's like, humans have to be better. We have to do better. Like, there's
Yeah.
just certain things that should not be transpiring.
I'm telling you, like when I do my sexual abuse stories, especially when it stems from the home, it's wild. It's insane. Like, it's insane. Like sometimes, like, damn, like you be thinking it'd be white people going through shit like this, but it be like, nah, I'm serious. Because sometimes, and that just shows the ignorance of things that we're not talking about within our community. Because sometimes we really do think it'd be white people shit, but it's all of us. You know what I'm saying? So.
Right. That's like, I remember reading this article years ago, and I'm mad I can't find it anymore. But I remember it was an article that was essentially like talking about like the aspects to like black parenting that isn't ideal. So it had examples of like asking young children to contribute to the household financially, which is like creates an unhealthy relationship because they're unable to like learn money in a proper way because you're forcing them to like spend their money on bills or whatever. And I remember another one was not really addressing the predators in the family. Like they'll tell you like, oh, stay away from Uncle whatever his name is.
Crazy, right?
Right. Versus actually, not allowing him at family events or, making him go see help or things of that nature. So it's kind of, it kind of makes sense of like, we kind of label it as like, oh, that's white people shit and black people don't do that. But it's like, it's present. So, unfortunately, some of these things are present in our community as well.
Yeah, it's very present. Like, oh, but I am proud. Like, some of the episodes I'm really proud of. Like, I interview. I mean, all of my guests are anonymous, but if you was to do your Google research, you can find out who most of these people are. I just don't confirm or deny. But I interview Eric Garner's daughter. I was very proud of that. I interviewed. I don't know if you know who this is, but she is the founder of Vagina Power. She was going viral before viral was even a thing. So if you know, you know. I ain't gonna say her name or anything, but I interview her. Like, I interview a lot of people that, like, oh my God, the one person who I interview, and we're friends to this day, I interviewed Flojo's daughter, Florence Griffin's Joyner daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I first saw Florence Griffin's Joyner when I was a kid, like, I thought she was the most beautiful, flyest black woman ever. And I don't play sports. She made me want to run track. So to be able to interview her daughter, like, I thought that was the best thing ever. Like, the little girl in me was just like, nah, nigga, you did that. Like, like I was even invited to like, cause they did like her daughter did a documentary about her mom. So definitely go check that out or support. But even to be invited to by her daughter and like I flew to LA and like, just to be amongst her family, like I was so proud of myself. Cause it's like, damn, like girl, like, and at the time I wasn't even signed to a network. Like I'm just hustling, like just reaching out to people. So I'm really proud of the work that I'm doing.
I always love that. Like before, I mean, I've never been signed to anything, but I always consider those like small wins where there's people of different social statuses and you're, just making your content, doing your thing. And when you do get a chance to actually work with those people, it kind of gives you that small confirmation of like, okay, maybe there's been times where I feel like, I don't know if this is for me. But then you'll have those instances where it's like, okay, I'm on the right path. Like this was one of those small but big victories.
Yeah, listen, I always tell people you got to stay open. If whatever it is, you just never know where God's gonna take you. No lie, Steven. I was watching Charlamagne when Breakfast Club first started, when Ray J was had the booty goons. I could probably tell you all the viral moments where like Charlamagne was wilding, like, and I'm watching this in my grandmother's house in my room, so it's just like this is like a full circle to me, and I feel like my grandmother has a hand in it because it's just like we didn't know what podcasting was. Podcasting wasn't even around 15 years ago. So to be able to be a part of a podcast with someone who I actually admire and looked up to, like, I was like, damn, like, I love how he asked questions or like just the way he was doing things. And to be able to be a part of his network, like, you can't tell me that's not God.
Listen, man.
Or my grandma.
Both of them.
Right.
Both of them.
So be open. Sure.
Are there any stories that you've had to turn down? Like, have you ever had to like say, nah, I can't interview you. This is, I don't want to cross this path.
Yeah. There's some stories that people wanted me to touch on that is related to recent news, but I don't like to touch on stuff that's like that with the meat. I don't like to do gossip and stuff. Like, that's not what my platform is for. Like, I feel like it's a difference when you want to share your story, and then there's a difference when you want to expose people. And I think it's a very thin line. And I don't know, like, I just don't want, that's not what PhD is about. I'm very big on entrepreneurship. So if people have like businesses and stuff, like I do support them. Like I interview so many authors. So if one of my listeners like, hey, Eboné, what's this person? Like I have no problem sharing their stuff. But I really wish that people would just come on and just share your story. Like I feel like a lot of times people just want to sell. And it's just like people are going to buy when you just be you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so I try to stay away. Like so many people have hit me up, and I also feel like as people see I'm with the network, they really been like super aggressive. But it's like I gotta stay true to my core. Like my platform is saving people's lives. Like, and I'm not even lying. So it's like I don't want I'm very sensitive about what my audience is listening to. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like a lot of times I do put the medicine in the candy because I gotta make sure you're paying attention. But for the most part, I don't want to do certain things that I feel like is not in alignment with PhD is all about.
Right. That's admirable. You mentioned this a couple times about how the show itself is kind of essentially saving people's lives. Do you ever feel like it's a burden in that sort of capacity, or do you feel like this is what you're supposed to do? Because I remember, our fellow Aquarian, J. Cole, I think it was one of the Angie Martinez interviews. He was talking about why he isn't on social media as much at that time is because like he'll check his DMs and it's like, oh, like a random person will send him a message. It's like, oh, I was about to like unalive myself, but I listened to this record and now I'm like, going to continue on with my life and things of that nature. Or like my father had cancer and it was the worst time of my life, but I listened to this album and it was fine. And it was like, while it's technically a good thing, like that's a lot of energy being transferred over to you because it's like, listen, I'm doing this for this specific purpose. Yeah. And yes, it's it goes out into the world, but you can't necessarily control like what it actually does to people or the kind of impact. So it could be a lot for certain people. So do you ever feel that? Because I'm sure there's certain people who may share certain stories with them and it's like, oh wow, I had no idea. Like, I don't even know you. So for you to even share this with me and we're complete strangers it could be a lot for some people.
No, it hasn't become a burden yet. I don't feel the pressure of like, people share things with me and maybe because I'm doing it so much, like in real time, opposed to like J. Cole dropping like an album every 10 years or something. Right. But like, it hasn't become a burden to me. I will say, I don't know if it's a burden, but I will say that, obviously I love what I do. I love PhD, but I do have my moments where I don't like PhD because, PhD is a lot of work. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, I don't think that people understand what goes into production. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I feel like, I'm very hands-on with my baby. Like this PhD was birthed from a place out of pain. You know what I'm saying? So this is very special and dear to me. And it wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for my grandma. So I think that's something that maybe, I don't know if it's a burden or something that I struggle with. And that's something I'm trying to work through. And I do believe that you can love something, but not like it all the time,
Yeah.
So, but as far as like people reaching out to me and stuff, like, I mean, sometimes I do get emotional because I'm like, damn, like I had this one girl, I did an interview with this woman, she's a herpes coach. And she was like, you know, sharing her story of having it, especially being a Black woman in the South. And, you know, she wanted to advocate for other people who had it. And this girl reached out to me, and she's one of my I call her my super professional homegirl. And she said because of that episode, she didn't unalive herself. So yeah, so I'm like, well, you know, I'm doing the Lord's work, so I know I'm going to heaven.
You already been stamped?
I think that's beautiful. Like your art is helping people to still be here. So I haven't been in I haven't been in that situation. I think if anything, I think it's just me being a burden to myself at times.
I completely understand where you're coming from. I think that's one of the main things that audience members don't really realize. It's not just, you know, turning on a camera and a mic and just babbling. Like, if you want quality stuff, there's a lot of work that goes into it. Not only from a pre-production standpoint, but then also to, you know, post-production and all the editing and all that.
And then I'm a girl, so I gotta make sure I look on point. I gotta make sure I look good. Like, it's a lot. And then, like, you know, you're not getting your sleep. So when I don't get my sleep, my down south accent be fighting with my up north lingo. Like, it just be chaos. Like, it be straight.
Now you having two personalities.
Yeah, they be like, but it's just a lot of work. And that's why it goes so hard for the dreamers and the entrepreneurs. Like, you know, it's a lot of work and it's a lot of coins. Like, it was a point in time where nobody knew I had 2 jobs before I got with the network, and I was still keeping up with PhD. Like, I can count on one hand how many times I missed an episode in almost 6 years. Like, that's a different level of commitment, and I'm just now starting to get paid. So it's like, people need to start supporting like how y'all support everybody else, because if the quality is there, if the conversation is amazing, double tap that shit and like it, or share it, or just do something. Like, leave a review. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, engagement matters. I think.
Absolutely.
I think that's also something that people don't realize. It's like, once you develop a healthy audience, like, there's certain expectations that they put on you from there. Of like, hey, you maintain this level of quality. It has to be like that every single time. And sometimes that isn't the case. There's technical issues. Sometimes your guest may not necessarily be as vocal once the mic is on. There's a whole bunch that goes into it. And then also, like, there's no, like, yeah, you can take vacation, but who really takes a vacation? Like, the most you can squeeze is like, oh, we're away for the holidays. And even then, it's like, yo, first week of January, where the episode at? Listen,
like, my professional homegirls, they be DMing like, girl, where's the episode at? It's like, girl, relax. Like, it's coming. Like, give me a minute. Like, and I love that, but it's just like, it's a lot of work. Like, I remember one time I had COVID and my voice was starting to come back because I lost my voice. And I was just like, fuck it. Like, I don't want to reschedule it because I was almost done with my batch recording. So once you batch record, you will have episodes for like 2 months. And I'm like, I wanted to chill out. And I'm drinking. I'm like, my producer, he took my sniffles and stuff out. Like, and they was like, oh my God, you really did have COVID. I'm like, yeah, girl, y'all thought I was lying.
You gotta love people, man. You gotta love people.
Y'all like, y'all gotta give me a break, kid.
Nah, ain't no breaks.
Listen,
now you sign now. Right. And you sign, yeah, ain't no breaks. Good luck with that. Mm-hmm. But that's all the meat and bones of the show questions, or portions, I should say. Mm-hmm. So now we have like this, I keep saying it's a rapid fire, but then also like these questions seem a little bit hard. So we'll see how well you do for our grand closing. Okay. We'll start off with, name me one song that represents your childhood, one song that represents your 20s, and then one song that possibly speaks to you now.
One song that represents your childhood. Tupac, Keep Your Head Up.
Oh, that's a good one.
One song that represents my 20s. Oh my God, one song that represents my 20s. Damn, you know what? I take that back. My childhood, I have to say El DeBarge, All This Love. I used to listen to that. Yeah, I used to listen to that song every single night at the age of 14. Like, that's my everything. My 20s, Keep Your Head Up by Tupac. And a song that represents now, Nicki Minaj, Win Again.
I knew it was gonna be something Nicki Minaj related. I knew. That's what I was waiting for. I knew it was coming. Yeah. What is one life hack that you feel like is not spoken enough about, or not necessarily considered a life hack,
Winging
but it's
it.
a life hack? Winging it?
Yes. I don't think people talk about the importance of winging some shit. And not, you know what? And I'm going to give you context. I think that it's important for you to wing it, but I also think it's important for you to have some context around it. And I think
Right.
a lot of times when people, you know, where they don't know something, they just give up. But it's like, dude, like try, like wing it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because nobody knows that you don't know something but you. And I cannot
Right.
tell you how many times I didn't wing some shit and I done got money off of it, partnerships, like everything that I need. But I also think that speaks to the confidence of who I am and me knowing that I got this. So I think that winging it, but be confident with conviction, will take you far.
That's
Yeah.
a good one. Because I think a lot of times we let fear take control in
Yeah.
those scenarios. And it's like sometimes you just got to wing it. And yes, you do need some level of context, but it doesn't necessarily mean like winging it's going to lead to failure, because you may draw the conclusion or draw the solution in the process of winging it.
Yeah.
Or you may realize like, okay, maybe I should take a different route, or maybe this isn't for me. So
Yeah.
that way you avoid the supposed failure that comes from it. But
Yeah.
I think the fear aspect actually stops people from trying in the first place. So that's a
Listen,
good
I always be nervous. Nobody knows. I be scared all the time, but I just be winging it. Like, listen, we gonna get here. We'll figure it out.
Right. I'd rather wing it and fail versus not try at all and wonder what if.
There you go. Come on now, King.
Listen, there's a mic in front of me for a reason. There's a mic
Okay,
in front
come
of
on
me for a
now.
reason.
Come on.
If you were stuck somewhere for 24 hours or whatever the case is, what's one book, one TV show, and one movie that you would need in this scenario?
One TV show. I don't know. The first thing that came to mind was Snowfall, but then I'm like, maybe
What's wrong with that?
No, nothing. But I'm thinking Snowfall, but then I was also thinking like Sex and the City and Girlfriends.
You can only have one.
I know. So maybe I don't know. Let's do Snowfall because I love drug dealer stories. I mean, I'm stuck.
Okay. Now, book and movie.
Book. I'm looking at my books now. What was a really good book? I want to say, honestly, one of my favorite books was Gucci Mane. Gucci Mane was a really good book. That and Dapper Dan book. So I think Gucci Mane book was a really good. I guess I'm stuck, so I'm not gonna be trying to worry about starting no business or something. So I think Gucci Mane, because Gucci Mane was a really good book about redemption. So I like that book. Yeah.
Okay. And movie.
I don't know. The first thing came to my mind was Matrix.
Okay, that's an interesting choice. I didn't know you were into sci-fi.
It can be hit or miss though. But I really, really, really love The Matrix. And I think I grew an even more love for it because I've been speaking to a lot of spiritual people, and especially this ordained minister. Oh, my spiritual episodes be so fire, but she had me thinking about The Matrix a lot. I'm just like, wow, like where are we?
Interesting. I got a homeboy of mine. Shout out to Matt. He always, well, not always, before he had his kid.
Mhm.
He always would be in the group chat talking about like trying to get into other dimensions and whatnot, and I'll like joke on him about it. But and you mentioning the Matrix and like where are we kind of made me think about that, because
Do
it's
you
like
believe in that?
whether there's alternate dimensions of people. I don't know I necessarily believe in that, but I've also never read any material to formulate any sort of opinion. It's the same thing of like people ask me about, do I believe in the afterlife? Do I believe in reincarnation? And I'm like, I don't know, because I haven't read any material to lean me one way or the other.
Yeah. And you know what? If not The Matrix, I gotta say Batman. I fucking love Bruce Wayne. Love.
Which Batman?
Oh, come on, Marvel. Don't do that.
Marvel?
Yeah, Marvel Batman. What are you talking about? Oh, you talking about which movie?
First of all, time out. It's DC.
No.
Yes, Batman is DC. And then, yes, which Bruce Wayne? Like, which actor? Because, yeah, Michael Keaton. Sure? Yes, I'm positive.
Batman is DC?
Yes, Batman is DC. And then which actor? You have...
I know the actor. It's Christian Bale.
Christian Bale, okay.
Yeah. Okay. I thought Batman, because the director was what? Nolan? Christopher Nolan?
Yes, Christopher Nolan.
And that's not Marvel? Wow.
It's DC.
Well, Besides that,
You're
Batman.
just a girl. You're just
I
a
am just a
girl.
girl. I'm not into comic books. But I will say Christian Bale, hands down. Yo, I love Batman.
Well, which one of the three?
Oh, I want to.
Batman Begins is the first one. Then the one with God rest his soul, Heath Ledger, is The Dark Knight.
I want to say Bane because that's when Batman lost his sauce and he didn't know he still had it. Like,
so Dark Knight Rises.
Like, yo, Bane was with that nigga Ash. Yo. I was like, come on, Bruce, like, because we always saw Bruce Wayne in his glory. So to see him at that point, and he was to see a white person like really tired, like we never see white people tired like that. Like Bruce Wayne just wanted to chill. Like he didn't want to be involved with these niggas. So that was I love that man.
That comment made me think of Vince Staples. I think it was a tweet. Somebody asked him, like, does he watch Succession or some other shit like that? And he was like, nah, I don't watch TV shows with white people doing good.
Yeah, it hits different when, like, when Law and Order, when my nigga Stabler is stressed out because he's trying to find this nigga who kidnapped this girl. Yo, that shit be having me on edge. I'm like, come on, Stabler. I love it.
You are a fool. Okay, what else we got here? Since you grew up in Memphis and live in New York, you can provide a location for either or place.
Yeah.
But what's one restaurant that you believe everybody should go to, and what is the dish that they should get from that restaurant?
Oh, so Memphis. So I would definitely say Neely's because that's barbecue. I mean, that's I don't know if that's the best barbecue now because it's been so long, but like definitely Neely's. And that's in Memphis. And in New York. What did I used to eat? Oh, what's something that I couldn't live without in New York? The first thing that came to mind is cafeteria, but I'm like, everybody goes to cafeteria.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever go to Gallo Kaku?
No.
Like you make the food in front of you? But that's nothing special either. Honestly, you know what it is? I would say the one thing that made me fall in love with New York when I was a kid, even to this day, and when I'm in East New York, I go to the corner store and I get a hero sandwich.
Listen, man.
Son.
Listen.
The best sandwiches I ever had. And it's so hard trying to find a corner store that makes like really good sandwiches. And that one in East New York by my grandma's house on Hendrick Street, I'm telling you, that sandwich every single time I go there, and it's the same Spanish niggas that's there making that shit with love.
Shout out to them. But yes, that is definitely like, if you grew up in New York, you have a story about whether it was your field trip or something of like getting the hero some chips,
the little juice box,
little grenades, and like yeah. You really can't get it from anywhere else. Like,
I used to be so obsessed with the hero sandwiches. I used to pack them up in my suitcase and take them back home.
Wow,
like that's commitment. Hero sandwiches are good in East New York.
That's a commitment.
Yeah,
that's the thing of like people be like, and I get it. Like, oh, I want to move out of New York. It's too expensive or whatever. But there's just certain elements that you're not going to find anywhere else. Yeah. So even though I don't know the last time I went to a bodega to get the hero, but if I need to,
right?
Yeah, if I need to, it's accessible, and chances are it's probably going to be good. Versus if I go somewhere in like, I don't know, Alabama, and no shot to Alabama, but I can't do that in Alabama. Like I can't, I just can't.
That's a fact.
Okay, just got one more. I mean, I'll be trying. One more. What's I don't know if you're a wine drinker, but what's a wine or a cocktail that you suggest everybody should get?
So I don't really drink like that. So I would say as far as a cocktail, I mean, I love mojitos, but everybody really can't make them. And if I'm on some nigga shit, you know, I like some honey jack with ginger ale.
Oh my God.
Yes. And if I need to relax and stuff, then I probably just get some wine from like the liquor store or something. Like I'm the type of person because I don't really drink like that. Like I'm not like I think you like into wines and spirits and stuff of that nature, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I like the aesthetics of things. And I like the aesthetics of things. I like indulging in things that are appealing. I just like, I'm very much into the aesthetics. Like I really, and this is not even related to wine or alcohol in any capacity, but I fell onto the side of TikTok of like espresso machines.
Oh,
And
yeah.
this dude has like this whole setup with this big machine, but then he has like this specialized machine to grind his beans, but then he has like this little spray bottle
I
that he
love stuff like
sprays all the beans. And it's like, I don't even drink coffee, but I want to get all of that
it's an
because I
experience.
just, yeah, I like the experience of things.
Me too.
That's really what it is.
That's
Thank you.
what-
That's the perfect way to explain it. I like the experience of things. So it's like, do I drink coffee all the time? Not really. I don't even really drink coffee at all. But I could just imagine myself waking up early. The sun is barely peeking above the New York skyline, and I'm just, calmness in my
yeah.
apartment, doing all of this, and just having this like fresh espresso being made in my crib, and just, living my best life.
That's the thing about Aquarians. Like, we love the experience. Like, we love when things make us feel a certain way, and we get off by sight or just by when our emotions are being evoked. So like, I'm the same way. So I definitely feel you. Like if the bottle is cute, it's gonna make me feel a certain way. If I pour it into my cute little glasses, because I have like beautiful like drinkware. That's what they call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even drink like that, but it's just like we just like pretty shit or nice shit.
Yes, we definitely have expensive taste.
Yeah.
And we like convenience of things.
Facts.
We definitely like the convenience of things. So I don't see that tweet all the time of like, if I'm ever rich, there'll be signs. Yeah, there'll definitely be signs. Yeah,
Facts.
yeah.
Facts.
Yeah. If you start seeing me making espresso at like 6:00 in the morning for no reason, and you could Google the machine. The machine is like $700.
Right.
Just know I got the bag. But that's all the questions I have. The last thing I have for you is there anything you want to share with the people? Obviously, you could plug your podcast. If there's anything else that you're working on that you want to share.
Yes, so definitely follow me at the Professional Homegirl and at the PhD podcast on Instagram, on my YouTube page at the Professional Homegirl. I just started, so like support me, okay? Because YouTube is ghetto. You can listen to the Professional Homegirl podcast every Tuesday, wherever you get your audio. Make sure you show some love to iHeartRadio and Black Effect Podcast Network. And also, I'm working on my 3rd coloring book. So I'm super excited about that. Yes. And maybe we should do like a little promo code for your listeners.
Yeah, we can talk offline. The people love discounts.
Yeah. So I have a coloring book. I was able to get into like 11 bookstores. So my goal before the year is to get it into 25 bookstores. And it's an interactive coloring book. It's very cool. It's nothing like it because I research, but for every page that you're coloring, there's a QR code at the bottom of each page. And when you scan that QR code, it takes you to the story on the show that goes with the page that you're coloring. And yeah, and the images look like Black women, Black men. Like it literally feels like this person or it looks like you. So definitely make sure to support. We can come up with a code, but the website is www.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
But thank you for joining me. This was quite fun.
Yeah, I was
quite honest.